Okay, super quick settings clip here for you, just so you might have a bit of time to look through it rather than me trying to explain it when we're getting into the game tomorrow. I think this will change, but there's some stuff in here that I do think makes a difference to the game. Some of it's personal preference as well. So, right, so sensitivity, this is the same as always. In terms of this is definitely preference. The way I look at it is, if you're playing slow and playing like long shot, um, covering off lanes, you want to be low. It does make you move a bit slower, but you're also not fighting your weapon all the time either. So I just find four is the sweet spot for me. If I get up close, it's still fine. I just think that it's much more controllable, and it feels like there's less recoil because you're not wafting. You're going around as well trying to get on aim. So 4-4 is good. I think if you're playing like AR or any of that, lower it is, the better. If you're running around like SMG and pushing the map, then you probably want to push this up a little bit. But if you're playing slow and steady, I would start low, and then if you feel like it's really like glue and it's taking ages to get on target, then shift it up one, play around with it. But that's definitely preference. I don't do anything here. Um, I was playing flipped last night, but I don't think I'm going to get on with it. So flipped is basically when you use the shoulder buttons to ADS and fire rather than the triggers. So it makes sense because they're just little clicky buttons. So you're actually saving time by clicking them and clicking them off. But it's hard to adjust to the muscle memory. So I wouldn't say they're bad because if you can stick with them, it absolutely makes sense to use them. Oops, sorry, I just pressed the wrong button. But for me, I'm going to stick with off for now until just till I get a grip of the game, and then I might go back to them. But yeah, personal preference again. Like technically, if you could use the shoulder buttons to aim and fire, it would be better because you would save some time. But yeah, I can't get used to it yet. So don't touch these. Aim response. So there's a few options. I haven't done testing, but from what I can see, the majority of people are saying that dynamic is the way to go. So I'll keep it on dynamic for a while to make sure they're off. They're just a distraction. So fine. So these are your dead zones. So when you press it, you don't want any time here. So if you can get away with it, you definitely want these on zero. This is just I heard sometime on the last one that if your right stick went lower than 3, it doesn't get the in-game aim assist. But like I've never tested it and it works fine for me, so I'll leave it on 3. But I think that's superstition. Left stick is how much you have to move the left stick for it to record movement. I push this down a little bit because when you kind of strafing, that you have to be moving to get the aim assist. So if I have to move my left stick less, I'm more chance to get that in-game aim assist. So you can mess around with this. I wouldn't go too low though, because then what happens is it becomes uncontrollable and he tries to spin around. So I just lower this a little bit. Again, it's really not a big deal. Default. That's the end of that one. So if you press R2, go across the game, play. So target aim assists on. I don't mount my weapons, so I don't really care about them. Yep. So don't touch that. Don't touch that. So this one's important. So when you move in, if you slide in or doing any of them kind of movements, if you have this on, for some reason it affects your movement, particularly trying to get back going again. So make sure they're off. Automatic sprint on, just otherwise you'll be breaking your controller because you have to press loads of buttons to actually do it. Off. Now, I think normally people recommend this is on, but there's been a lot of time that I've been caught where it's like, right, I've killed someone, I start running, and because I have sprint on, I'm sure it cancels, and then my weapon doesn't fire. So I'm just testing this being off to see if I have the same problem. So technically, if I run out of ammo, I'm in the habit of changing to my pistol anyway. So I think I'll get on better with this being off. But again, something to test yourself, personal preference. Um, Slide behavior, like so, technically, movement is pretty big in this Vanguard. So rather than have to hold the slide button, you can just tap it and it'll slide. Does get you out of some tricky situations, so you'd rather just tap. That doesn't make any sense to hold it down because then your fingers off the aiming stick for longer. So hold, equipment, steady, aim. I have this on prioritize, interact. So basically, I can tap my square button for either reload or interact, but it'll prioritize. So technically, if maybe there's a weapon on the floor but I need to reload, if I tap, it's going to prioritize reload first, and then if there's a reason that I need to interact, I'd hold it to interact. So I think that works well. And then across the graphics. So I don't know if you have this, but this is like the big game changer to be able to get 120 hertz. Um, it's it's definitely good. I don't know, Dad, if you have this on your TV or your monitor, you're able to get this, but that's definitely something to check. If you can get this on, will make a big difference. Don't go to these field of view. So field of view is again, it's personal preference. I think 95 is a good mid ground. So if you go wide, you can see more of the screen, but the whole game speeds up then, so everything feels faster. Um, if you go slow, you can see less of the screen, so you might miss kind of enemies wider, and it also slows down the game. So 95 for me is that sweet spot. Some people play faster, some people play slower. That's preference. This is fairly important. So if you're playing slow, and again from distance, like if that's how most of your engagements are, you'd want to play independent. So it's probably better for assault rifles that are not really kind of aggressive. So what it does is that when you pull the trigger to ADS, the screen zooms in with the ADS. Whereas if you play unaffected, it basically just brings your gun up, but there's no zoom in animation. So it does give you be able to see people in the distance a little bit clearer, just a little bit. So if you haven't tried that yet, that's another one that's worth playing around with. It just gives you that little bit more help when you're taking people on a distance. Turn this down. The default is 100, and you definitely want to turn this down. It just there's no point in having it on. It just makes everything busy. Make sure these are off. Now these ones are really annoying. So you want this off and you want this on, but every time you restart the game, and sometimes during the game, these will just turn themselves back the other way. So depth field turn off. And this one's important. It sharpens up everything. And like technically, if you've been playing with this off and you turn it on, you can notice a difference. So everything looks a bit clearer and sharper. Um, I haven't played around with how much of a difference this makes, but by default I'd just turn this on and go to 90. But that's something you pretty much need to check throughout the session, or definitely every time you turn the game on. And then I have this turned off. Audio then, I have master volume 15, 5, don't really need them. Dialogue sometimes can be important, but it's also really loud and annoying, so I've just turned that down a little bit. Sound effects volume is at 100. The hit marker, I turn this up because when you are shooting, say if they disappear behind a wall that you can shoot through, like you will see the reticule change to a hit, but it's also nice to hear the noise, and then you can keep shooting through the wall. Vanguard, that's standard off. We use party chat, so I haven't checked anything there. Interface, I don't think I change anything here. We'll check. These things are useful just if you feel like there's something weird going on in the game, or there might be connection issues. If you turn these on, I don't know if you can see top left of my screen, it says FOV and packet loss, so they'll completely be changing during the game, so you can kind of see if there's any problems or issues. Then I don't have this. Oh, there is one. The mini map. Like, make sure you have a square, because you can even see there on the right hand side. You actually can see less if you choose the circle, so it makes no sense. The minimap rotation means that you're always kind of pointing forward. This is another one of those. It's like an animation that probably makes it feel more real, but it's also distracting. So I turn my crosshair bobbing off so it doesn't bounce up and down as you fire. his preference, but I just feel like it's just another thing that can make you miss a shot because you're like distracted by that jumping around. And then the other one in account and network, it'll stop recording if I go into that tab, but just make sure crossplay is off. And that's it. So hopefully that'll help you out. Some bedtime viewing, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.